Okay, a short video in the New World Order 2035 explanation series. This one for control, not players, about some of the stuff that map control has in their map control box. So this is a collection of things that you will find useful, and you need to know that they exist. That is quite important. Everybody needs to know they exist. So I'm going to run through what we have, and hopefully you'll remember at least some of it. So, no particular order. Let's unpack what's in this. A spare copy of the player's guide. Who knows, you might need to look at the rules at some point. Some spare special agent counters. I've got no expectation that these will need to be used. Everybody has their correct number of special agents. We should not need any of these at all. So just keep them to one side. Just be aware that if for some reason or other we create a new special agent, you have counters for it. You don't need to create a new handwritten counter. USA political action markers, only because I couldn't think of anywhere else to put them. They're in here. At some point the USA will be provoked into taking a political action. Here are their markers. You have a number of outbreak counters. It is quite important to notice the difference. These have words written on them. This has metaflu written on it because there is an event which is metaflu. It's one type of virus that could spread in the world. We have Cephalon alpha counters. It's a different virus and therefore different counters. And we have generic outbreak counters when something happens that we haven't thought of that's in some way or other an outbreak. So, but the two named ones are game events, so you will be using these. You may not need to use these. You shouldn't, unless something unusual comes up. Mobilisation flags. Every team in their team pack has their national mobilisation flag. However, there are non-played countries whose mobilisation will matter. For example, it matters whether the USA mobilises or goes to DEFCON 1. You have their counter to indicate that. I've also got markers for China, the Indo-European Alliance, Canada, not quite sure why, and Pakistan, because if India goes to DEFCON 1, Pakistan will go to DEFCON 1, obviously. There are also blank mobilisation and DEFCON counters which you can write on with dry wipe. That's wipeable. Do not use permanent pens on anything in this game. Dry wipe mark pens and markers will be provided for doing that, so that we can add somebody who we haven't thought of. We've got some flexibility. So you have those, or if anybody else, any of the regional controls need to indicate a mobilisation, you have the mobilisation flags here ready to go. You have a set of counters for crises and events. So there is a counter for every one of the UN issues that are going to come up in the game, and they are labelled with the location and what it is. Similarly, the climate change flooding issue, there's lots of floods that are going to happen during the game, and each counter is marked with where those floods are going to be, and you will have an indication in the control injects list of when these come up. There are also some generic ones and a blank one in case we don't come up with anything. It's important to know these exist because they need to be deployed each turn as and when the events described occur, so players know where things are going to happen. You have all important map control badge, so people know that you're important and in charge. You have a number of generic game counters. I'll just run through these. It's important to know these exist because I've gone to a lot of trouble to produce them. So blank militia, which you can write on old tech cores and modern tech cores and advanced tech cores. So when players upgrade from militia to old tech to modern tech, they can replace their game counters with new game counters, the appropriate type. And once the scientists have researched advanced core, and only when the scientists have researched advanced core, so countries could upgrade their modern cores to advanced cores, you have counters for all of these, don't forget it. You also have the same thing, you've got some spare intervention forces, which we almost certainly I say we won't use, players can create new ones, so you've got that option. And you've got advanced intervention units, forces, which have been pre-labelled with nations, and there are some blank ones. So again, when the scientists, if the scientists develop advanced intervention corps, so you've got counters for that, so you don't need to make any up, they all already pre-exist. If the United Nations agrees to buy food aid or UNHCR camps or any of the UN things, or if they have applied sanctions, there are counters for that, which the players can buy. It's in the rules how much they cost. The other thing, at the start of the game, you need to deploy China's military on the map. This is their conventional military forces, and at least some of IDEO's conventional forces. It's green counters, the army corps, and blue counters, the sea units. Intervention forces don't need to be deployed, and China's anti-ballistic missile system needs to be deployed. So you have freedom of choice, but put this somewhere reasonable. But if in doubt, speak to game control, and I'll point you in the right direction. But you place those out at the start. You also have a set of military counters for non-played countries. You don't necessarily have to put these on at the start, but if you want to, that's fine. They might clutter the map a bit, so I'll leave it up to you. We also have a load of red insurgent counters. Some teams have the ability to create these. There are some special action cards which create them. Players will tell you as and when they appear. You have counters for them. Also you've got the advanced core, futuristic core, with flags for the played countries. So again, as and when a played country creates those, they've got named counters. So it's important. You also have, most important, all of the USA counters. So the USA is massively powerful. It has huge amounts of troops, huge amounts of fleets, anti-ballistic missile systems, and so on. The fleets and the corps must go on the map. Again, speak to me or agree with other controls where that is. But in principle, America has forces all over the world in most of the main sea areas. So feel free to spread those around. USA ground forces, they can be deployed in any American allied country. So they could be in Australia, they could be in Japan, they could be in Britain. So you can deploy some overseas, but we'll leave that to you. We'll lay them out in a way that seems interesting. The other counters you have are the megastorms. Climate change will generate massive storms at sea, which will go on the map, and you've got counters for those. Finally, you've got a pack of result cards for any combats or actions on the main map. This is probably the thing you'll be adjudicating most, and we'll be talking elsewhere in a how to do combat video. But the results cards that you'll have seen have combat values for the fighting units, but also hypersonic missile results and agent results. The chances are most of the time you'll be looking for agent results or missile hits. The unit versus unit combat doesn't happen very often. Maybe famous last words, but it doesn't. So you might want to keep a few stacks of these. There's quite a lot of counters, plenty of cards. You might want to keep stacks at different parts of the map, just for ease of use. So results cards, very important. And that is your basic kit. There are a few more bits and pieces in the game, but these are the ones that you'll be in charge of, and you'll be keeping track of on the main map. And well, good luck.